Welcome to Musclebox Radio. I'm your host Stephen Box and my co-host is Michael Harrison. This show is going to be all about nutrition, training, bodybuilding with loads of banter. We're going to be giving you the evidence, the science and breaking that down with the help of some amazing guests and industry leaders to give you that application. So make sure you subscribe and I hope you enjoy the show. Musclebox Radio, Stephen Box, episode 3. Mike?
Yeah, hello.
How's it going, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm real good. We've got a special guest with us today.
We have. So our special guest today is, I'm going to let her introduce herself, but her name is Verushka. I can't really pronounce her surname, so I'm not going to try and butcher it. So I'll let her to introduce that. But ultimately, Verushka is one of my clients. We've worked together now for the last 18 months, about that. And she is one of our top team box athletes. So Verushka, how are you doing?
Hi everyone. I think Stephen did a great introduction for me. There's not much more that I could say, except that I'm a converted flexible dieter now.
Nice. Yeah, so we're going to get into a little bit of that. Where are you talking from right now?
I'm sitting in Cape Town in my work office, actually, while I waited for you to get ready for me. And now, here we go.
I think you might also want to add that you've just placed third in the Arnold's.
Those are minor details.
In her first international competition, placing third at the IIFYM Arnold South Africa. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Boom.
I think I'm still on cloud nine. Honestly, I did not expect that. So it's taking a while to sink in, and it's been a week and a half. So I can only hope for the best going forward from here. But new goals and new plans are underway already. Time waits for no one.
You're still rocking a nice tan as well.
Yeah, spray tan, although I'm orange under my arms. I shall not show you that, though.
That's compulsory of the podcast. You've got to get your armpits out.
So Steve, how does it feel to be the smallest in on this conversation? Out muscle?
We'll need to see a flex.
Don't encourage him.
Yeah, I'm outgunned. It's fine. I'll deal with it. Yeah. She lifts more than both of us though, Mike, so...
That's probably true, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Hopefully one day.
So, Verushka, we've got some questions for you. And we asked on my Facebook page today if anyone had any questions for you, but we're going to go over those after our little break. But before we do, we have to recap our competition, which is still currently running. So we have a £75 voucher for MuscleFood to win. This is for anyone who's a resident of the UK, unfortunately, just because obviously they can post you that. And the competition ends on the 18th of June, and the winner will be announced on the Teambox UK Facebook page. So make sure you go and like that. But to enter the competition, to be in a chance to win that £75 MuscleFood voucher, you have to subscribe to this podcast. You have to leave us a 5-star rating, ideally. You can leave us whatever rating you want, but ideally 5-star. And then leave us a review of whatever you thought about the 3 episodes that we've done so far. 2 including this one. Yeah, so if you can leave us a little review, that will put you in the draw and everything will be announced last week. So, Verushka, got any embarrassing stories just to break the ice?
I do embarrassing shit all the time. Although on my prep, I think the final week was pretty much when I left the ladies' bathroom with my pants inside out and having toilet paper stuck to my shoes. This was after a tantrum in the cubicle because I couldn't get my lock to unlock because I bought it at a Chinese store and only one of the 3 keys unlock it. So more frustration and embarrassing combo there.
Is that diet brain?
Yeah, definitely diet brain. And I walked up the stairs to the weight section with my tights inside out and toilet paper hanging everywhere.
Strong.
Great.
Is that what do the other 2 keys unlock though?
I have no clue. It's like this little Chinese puzzle game, and I keep threatening to take the other 2 keys off, and then I forget, and then every morning it's the same fight. So
that's strong. Yeah, I like that, and a competition-based one as well. Good. So what inspired you to take up bodybuilding as a female? And what got you into competing then as well?
In all honesty, I didn't start this journey with wanting to be a bodybuilder or to inspire people. I've always said it's not my dream to inspire people at all. It's just I was a very, very skinny girl. I weighed 48 kilograms, and I'm 1.72 meters tall. So I'm not tiny by any means, but and naturally I was always an athlete. So it was running or swimming or netball or hockey, but it was all sports that were really that burnt a lot of calories pretty much. And I didn't know how to feed my body. So I was always pretty underweight. And due to that, bullying started with being anorexic or bulimic. Or, I even donated blood. And the lady who does the blood wanted me to stand on a scale because she didn't believe I was weight to be able to donate blood. So it was all little embarrassing things like that that really pushed me to want to gain a little bit of muscle and fill out my body. My doctors told me that, when you reach 22, your body will naturally settle into its female form, so don't stress about it. Your hips will widen, you'll gain some weight. It never happened for me, and it was something that really, really bothered me immensely, and I have a lot of scars because of it, even till today. I mean, you will know, I ask you 1,000 times if I'm big enough, if I'm strong enough, if I'm hard enough. And one thing led to another, and I found myself doing a fitness show because people told me I couldn't do it, that I would never get stage ready, that I would never be lean enough. And I placed third at my first competition, and something sort of changed in my brain. And I was like, hey, I kind of enjoyed this challenge. I used to be someone who floated around from one thing to the next. I could never commit, never follow through. And this forced me. You have no choice, really.
You do want to make sure what you do follow through with. Some things you don't want to be following through. That's just embarrassing for everyone, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, and I've got a couple of those stories.
Mate, you do have a couple of those stories.
Too many.
Yeah, maybe you can share one of those follow-through stories on the podcast one day.
Maybe,
yeah.
if they're lucky. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, so, that is incredible. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to you, Verushka. And although you don't want to be an inspiration, I know you are, and you're a huge inspiration to so many people, and you just have to look on your Facebook page and your Instagram to see everyone supporting you in your journey that you've been on. And certainly within the Team Box family, you are a huge inspiration. I know that a lot of our clients were, really, geeing you on, asking me like, oh, how's Verushka's prep going? I see her doing so well. And obviously the fundraiser that Sarah did, which was fantastic to help out a little bit and things. So you are a huge inspiration, and it's because you truly have an amazing passion for bodybuilding and seeing yourself improve, and you are testimony to that. And I love coaching you for that reason. I know that 3 days after the Arnolds, you're on the phone to me like, right, this was my feedback, Steve. We've got 365 days now to basically hammer this. What are we going to improve on? What training plan are we going for? How are we going to make gains? So last year I met you just before your was that just for your second competition that you'd ever done?
Yes, it was my second competition, the Shameen Classic.
Yeah, and I know we were training in the same gym, weren't we? And that's kind of how we got chatting. I could see that you were, pretty shredded up and getting obviously ready. And I think conversation kind of started from there. And
pretty hormonal.
You a little bit, yeah. A little bit, shall we say, panicked about some of the information that you were being given. So talk us through a little bit of that prep. What was that prep like? So this was kind of pre-meeting me. What was prep like for you then, Verushka?
I don't think Hal could explain it close enough. I think in that prep I was really pushed to my ultimate limits, bearing in mind that my first prep was pretty easy because I didn't plan on coming in and winning. It was about a learning experience, basically, which was also very hard because I was in very little food. But honestly, the prep just before you met me was the worst prep of my life. I always give everything 110%. It's in my nature. I can't help it. So if you tell me to eat this, I will eat it and weigh it and do everything exactly as you say. And to be on a fish and broccoli diet, eating it for lunch, breakfast, dinner, snacks. I think I had 5 meals like that, which was just a dry piece of fish and broccoli. It was absolute torture, not to mention that on show day, I was so depleted that my brown eyes were gray because I had so little water in my body. And I honestly looked like someone had sucked the life out of my soul with a vacuum cleaner from Ghostbusters. I mean, I won, so it clearly worked. But my question was, to what detriment to my body? What did I do to my body to get that way?
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
I met you about a week
I
before
think it
that
was
show.
4 days out because my coach disappeared on me about 4 days out,
Yeah.
which left me very panicked. And, I was told afterwards that it was because this coach liked his athletes to think for themselves and, figure things out. If you're a second time competitor, how the fuck do you do that? I'm sorry. Sorry for my cursing, but you're so stressed already. You need to think of how do I add salt? Do I drink water? Don't I drink water? How do I train? How do I deplete? And I had all these questions. And I think you were curling in the squat rack or doing bridges the day I bit your head off about letting me squat.
Yeah,
And that's how we got
I was
talking.
doing my glute bridges, and this one comes over and just like using the rack. Where I was like, well, yeah,
It wasn't
but
as polite. Let
she
me
just
let me put it
she
like
just
that.
budges in, and I'm like doing my fucking glute bridges here.
I love this the standard of this coach. I like my clients to just figure it out for themselves. So
Whilst
what?
taking your money.
Yeah, what exactly is he doing? I might start adopting that with my clients. Yeah, just work it out yourself.
Or Google it.
Google. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I must be honest. I think a lot of coaches in South Africa, and I could get crucified for saying this. A lot of them are great with training techniques and training. I will not take that away from them. But when it comes to the nutritional side, it's pretty much thumb sucked, or what's worked for one has to work for all. And I can tell you now that Stephen can vouch for this, that everything that works for normal people, I didn't do. I did something completely different. I did spinning in there last week when people told me, oh my God, you're doing spinning. You shouldn't be doing spinning. You should be walking on a treadmill at 2 steps per hour, and burn your calories slow. I didn't do any of that. And the results were clearly amazing. And I'm blown away that I didn't have to follow everyday norm for coaches locally.
Yeah, so obviously last year you went through a grueling prep, and I can't imagine what it'd be like eating. I actually, no, that's a lie. I did eat white fish.
Once. Me too. It was covered in batter though.
Yeah, no, I did. Someone at the gym did actually say to me once, if you eat cod and broccoli every meal for 5 meals for a week, you'll get shredded. So I did it, and I fucking hated life for a week. But you, Verushka, I know that you are such a dedicated athlete that you will execute whatever the plan is given to you, which is testimony to you. And I think more athletes should be like that if they are going to be a serious competitor. And sometimes that is what it takes. But ultimately, yeah, this year, so obviously let's kind of go through this story a little bit more. You got on stage, you did fantastic at that show, and although, yeah, you went through a hard, grueling prep, it could have been easier, right? But anyway, you did what you had to do. You came first, and you got your qualification to Arnold's. And then we had, was it about 16 months between shows?
I think it was about 12 months, 13 months. It was 13 months,
Yeah,
actually.
it's 13 months. So we then straight away put you in an off-season, didn't we?
Well, you put me in a reverse diet first, which I had to follow, obviously, to get my body. I mean, you were shocked at what the state of my body was. So we did the reverse diet first, and then we went into my off season.
So what exactly? What issues did arise when you say shocked at the state of your body? What sort of things are we talking about?
Well, I mean, I didn't have a menstrual cycle for 18 months. So it got to a point where I went to the gynae 4 times in 1 year because I've had problems with cysts before, ovarian cysts, as well as cervical cancer. And immediately, you think you're pushing your body to the brink. Is something else going wrong? Is my health being affected? I feel fine, but do I feel fine? You start questioning everything.
Yeah.
So for me, it was mostly that my hormones were totally messed up from obviously overtraining, not eating enough, not having a menstrual cycle, being stressed on top of that. I had acne, and I haven't had acne since I was 16. So they were visible stresses in my body.
And this is the unfortunate thing that so many, female competitors and guys are going through this cardio every single day. And yeah, that sometimes has to be done, but with a very, very low calorie point, which is, quite frankly, quite dangerous.
Yeah.
And so many people be able to relate to you on this, and they end up binging post-competition. And I know that, with your recovery diet, I kind of took your cardio out straight away. I bumped you up by 500 calories to what I expected would be near maintenance. And then we slowly started to increase calories from then on into that sort of reverse or recovery diet, didn't we, even before we went into an off-season?
Yeah, and it was quite a slow reversal. I mean, it was literally you took it week at a time to see how my body was coping, how I was being affected, and then from there on we went to my off season.
No,
I think I've been through a similar sort of thing. So my first show was a similar sort of thing to you, Verushka. In terms of, I went with a coach who had me on a similar sort of diet. So although it weren't white fish and broccoli, it was limited food choices. It was no artificial sweeteners and a lot of bollocks, basically. And I think when it is your first time or you're relatively new, you sort of second guess. And I know myself, I was like, well, this must be what it's like. This is what I must have to do to achieve these results. This is what everybody needs to be doing. But then obviously we see that we learn a little bit more, and then we realise it's not the case. And yes, doing this sort of a diet is going to get results because you put somebody on so few calories doing so much. Yes, you're going to see some results. That it's just nature. You're going to see some results, but it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to affect your health like it has done, and it doesn't have to be as strenuous and as hard as that. And you can still achieve phenomenal results in using alternative methods. You're testament to that.
I think there comes a point where with females it is common for females to lose their menstrual cycle, but that normally only happens for maybe 2 to 3 months of prep, not 18 months. There's a big difference between obviously the risk that can then take on bone mineral density and other factors which are you've got to live with for the rest of your life, but and also because for me as your coach, I think it took me a long time to gain your trust because I knew that I had to kind of tread carefully with the information that I gave you, because if I said to you, if I told you about the diet that you eat now, you'd have probably turned to me and gone, "You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. How dare you say that I can have whey protein and still make results? How dare you say that I can eat pancakes?" So I think I had to kind of at the start encourage you to eat a little. I can remember saying to you, look, you need to have a little bit of kind of junk food,
when last have you had a chocolate bar? I don't see a chocolate bar in your tracking.
Yeah, I know. And it was and I'm not saying go out and binge on chocolate. I'm just saying, maybe a crunchy, maybe or maybe a bit of a Woolworths Finest, what you have out in Cape Town. But and I can remember you coming then back to me and saying you'd made some cacao based cheese seed, and I was like, no, forget that shit. I'm on about a chocolate bar. Don't try and make this clean. Don't try and make this healthy. I want you to eat a chocolate bar.
That's such an important point that you're talking about for me now, because honestly, in the beginning, I felt like you were trying to trick me, make me a heifer somehow, and then try and do those before and after photos. Look, she won a show, she got fat, and now she's back. That's what I sort of expected. And I also feared that I'd met this amazing coach who then went back to the UK, and I'm stuck in South Africa alone, listening to everything that you say, following it step for step, and you just piss off and disappear. What if I had questions? What if I had fears? I had deep-rooted fear that you were just going to leave me. But slowly but surely, I started trusting the process. And I said to you one day, I'm going to trust you 100% and I'm going to do it. And if you screw it up, I'll kill you, type of thing. But it paid off clearly.
I would believe it as well.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, they do that in Cape Town, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't
crazy girls in Cape Town.
Yeah, that's it. But no, and it's been fantastic the work of you in, I think you've come a long, long way. So obviously let's talk about a little bit, which I know a lot of girls will be interested in, is how you coped with an off-season. From my experience, females are always hesitant about gaining weight, gaining body fat,
Even guys though.
Yeah, you know, and they're in this constant cycle of like, oh my god, I've put on a kilo, got a cut, you know, and they never commit to it. They never commit to an off season. They never commit to a bulk, and they never actually see any progress. And I know me and you had some kind of like emotional conversations with how you were feeling about your body changing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, kind of talk us through about, you know, you gaining weight, gaining muscle, gaining body fat, how you cope with that. Because, you know, your calories got up to a decent amount, right? Well, I think one time we had you on 400 grams of carbs a day every single day.
And I was smiling like a Cheshire cat.
Yeah.
Strong.
But how did you deal with that?
It's a very important point that as well for me, because when people asked me about my off-season bulk, they were quite surprised that you were letting me do a bulk as a female, and on so many calories. Obviously, I didn't give too much detail, but people in my office especially saw me scoffing face the whole time, and my cheeks were constantly full like a squirrel. And I was very proud of the fact that by then I was comfortable enough to trust you enough to eat more food. And I'd be a lying wench if I said that, you know, gaining weight isn't hard. That is the biggest lie ever. You know, from being very lean and seeing striations in your chest and in your abs, it's amazing to feel like that. But you have to reach a point where realistically your ultimate dream and passion is almost outweighs the current look. I mean, in summer I didn't have a six-pack. I had a little half paunch going on. You know, my belly wasn't flat. It was like little bloated belly. But I had great glutes. So one sort of outweighs the other. But there were times when I would stand in front of the mirror and break down in tears and look at myself and think, is this really what I have to do to reach my goal, I wanted to get to 80 kg. So 73.5 was quite a jump in a year. Could I have managed it to 80? Yes, sure. If I really pushed it, I would have accepted my body changing. The other thing is your digestion changes when you eat so much. You know, you have tummy bloating, or you have gas, or you can't go to the loo. There's a lot of factors, but for me, I just wore tights, and I would make it a fun little shopping adventure. So every time I gained weight and I felt a bit uncomfortable, I'd say, okay, right, you've gotten to where you wanted to be. Let's go buy a pair of Nikes, which is maybe not the right way to do it, but I try to put positivity with that feeling of sadness, that emotion. And for me, when I visualize something, I chant it over in my head, and it sounds crazy, but I'll say to myself, I want to reach this goal. I want to reach this goal. I want to be bigger, because ultimately, you know this, I don't want to be a small girl. I'd love to do physique one day. So for me, then the want was more than the current situation, I think.
Yeah, I think obviously going through a similar sort of thing myself as well. I think you just have to sort of suck it up, and you've sort of looked at that long-term goal as opposed to the short-term, you know, this is what my body looks like this week, this is what I want it to look like next week. You've sort of had that long-term goal in mind, and you've done everything you can and committed to that, because you know that ultimately you're going to be better for it. And I think a lot of females could benefit from that, you know, whether it's their glutes that they want to get bigger, whether, you know, they want better legs, or, you know, broader shoulders. Yeah. I think it's so hard for a female to develop muscle tissue. You've got to really commit to the process. Otherwise, you'll never sort of get anywhere. And by going through I want to build muscle, but I want to do it on next to no calories, and I also want to do an hour of cardio a day, you're just not going to get anywhere. So I think a commitment to the process, like yourself, and then again with how you're looking now, and I've seen the difference, how you look now to how you were last year, and it's just it's staggering.
How much?
I also think society puts a hard time on females in bodybuilding and in fitness, because if you're too small, then they critique you for that, and then if you add a little bit of muscle, then you're manly. So women are very scared of tipping the scales, you know, either way. And a lot of girls would rather be bikini girls than do body fitness. They find that we are too big for what they like personally, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. I know where I'm going with where I want to be. But for the girls who are smaller, who want to put on a little bit of size but are scared, just envision for me, it'll just be to envision that end goal, to see yourself on stage in that bikini with the heels, with the hair, and have the body that you've always wanted in this mental picture.
And I think for you as well, like I can remember a conversation that you and I had. Someone in the gym had come up to you and they'd been like, I can remember this conversation quite vividly. I was at my coffee shop and I went outside to have this conversation with you, and you were saying to me that someone had come up to you and they said basically, Verushka, you're starting to get fat, you need to rein it in.
Yeah.
And you know, and I knew at the time that Obviously, that was pretty hurtful. And I think my reply was, well, fuck them. They don't know what they're talking about, which was true because they don't. And, I think that was a real turning point because, you really started to embrace curves. I can remember you, saying how much you started to love your off-season body. And I think that's really important. I always say to people, your off-season body is like your 9-to-5 job. You have to enjoy it. Your on-stage body is like being on holiday. It's great for a week, but it's not going to last forever. You can't maintain holiday lifestyle. You can't stay in a hotel all year round, drink alcohol, party it up, just eat all the food you want and think that you can maintain that because you need to earn a living. So your off-season body is just like that. You need to learn to love that. And you got to the point where you did, and, then everything after that was easy because every week you were seeing progress. When you started to go into a deficit, it became easier and easier, which is absolutely fantastic. We obviously got you up to that point. And the other thing that I want you to talk about as well is there seems to be this attitude of sometimes females when they're training is that they're kind of like dumbbell curling 2 kilos, or that they're doing lunges with a 5 kilo or 10 kilo bar. And they're just not lifting any load. And I know that when I met you, you trained hard. Like, you were doing chin-ups, you were doing back squats with good weight and good load on the bar, and actually having a bit more of a mentality of lifting high load, training for hypertrophy rather than kind of toning. Like, you weren't doing 20-30 reps, you were training for building some size and strength. And you train like an athlete. And I think more girls need to be, and guys actually need to be less scared. They don't need to be scared of the weight. You need to push the boundaries of how strong you are, lift more load, get it on the bar. Obviously keeping form tight, but that's a standard. But and not fear that long-term process of more calories, more volume, more load, and then you'll see better results.
Well, I think mine originally started because I was training with guys, and I am very competitive. I mean, I grew up with 15 boys. We used to beat the shit out of each other with a fist. We didn't play around.
That's how it goes down in Cape Town.
It's the ghetto. No, but in all seriousness, so I trained with guys, and they were very strong, and I felt like I was holding them back if I didn't pack off plates every 2 minutes. So I tried to stick to their weight, and then at some point you realize you just can't as a girl, and you have to sort of step back a bit. But they actually encouraged me a lot to go heavier rather than lighter. And I think had I trained with a female, it might have been different. I might have been like, okay, well, she's doing 3 kgs or 4 kgs, maybe I should do that. Yeah. But my competitive nature is the thing that always pushes me to beat myself. So if I did 10 kgs today, I don't want to do 10 tomorrow. I want to do 12 or. Yeah. It's a mental thing for me because I'm not competing against anyone else. It's for me. I want to be stronger, better, bigger than I was last time.
And this is the exact training plan that you're going to be going on to with me shortly. I know that's something I'm going to be taking over as of this week is your training. Yeah. So, that's exactly how we're going to periodize that up. We've got 12 months. And I think that if your off season goes well, this year for you, you're not going to need to add as much muscle and as much body fat as you did last year because you've done an incredible amount of hard work in your last year. So this year should be that little bit easier. And that's the whole point of bodybuilding. You should be a little bit bigger, a little bit easier, a little bit leaner, and then also the process should be that little bit easier every time. So ultimately, you bring a better condition, a better physique to the stage every year. And you see a lot of people, they get lean once, they binge, and then they can never do it again because it was so hard and so grueling. So, how much, can you remember how much you weighed on stage last year?
On stage last year, I was 57.5, 58 kgs. And I weighed myself on stage day, obviously at Arnold's, and I was 65.5 kgs.
Oh, amazing.
So,
yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, the last week, my body, it really changed. I couldn't believe every time I sent you photos, morning and night, the changes were incredible. And I don't know how it happened. I mean, obviously I know how it happened, but it's just, I couldn't believe that my conditioning was changing from morning to night. Within a day, the changes were epic.
That's peak week, baby.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
65 kilos, right?
Yeah.
What do you compete at, Steve?
64? Nah, joking. No, well, hopefully this year about 74, but 75.
But
anyway,
that's a lot of mass to put on in a year. That's awesome.
Well, the thing is as well, Verushka, like for you went into that show like on green beans and whitefish. You'd have been carb depleted. You'd have been very, very light. I know that your previous coach wanted you to dehydrate, obviously, and if you've been 18 months without carbs, when you start to ramp those up and get onto 400, your body was obviously hungry for it.
The most amazing thing for me was that I could eat a kg of sweet potato and my body was just absorbing it like I was Popeye. It was really amazing to watch.
Yeah, and I would say that, this year your condition was a lot better. You just have to look at your chest and your arms and, your back and, it is incredible what the physique that you brought to the stage this year. And for me, like a lot of people have said to me as well, like, what an incredible physique that you've got. You stepped on stage and your pictures that you sent me, you look like a superhero. You do. You've got such nice genetics, proportions, in overall aesthetics and balance, and that's why you're always going to do so well, because you've got that critical eye to think, okay, already me and you are thinking, right, what area is your weak part? What do we need to bring up? You don't go into the gym and train your favorite muscle group. You go into the gym and you train your weak body parts and to bring them up, so you've got this balance, and that's brilliant, and we'll obviously continue to do so. So I think now would be quite a good time to take a bit of a break, don't you think? And then we can go through some of the listener questions. But first of all, we do that. Let's go for a break, and then I've got another question for you as well. I want to ask you about how you dealt with some of the negative comments or haters that you had in Cape Town or South Africa, because of you follow a flexible diet and you obviously ate pancakes, you had whey protein, and we can go over some of that. But we'll take a break and we'll be back shortly. So back from the break, just a quick shout out to our sponsors at this time, MuscleFood. Again, those are the guys behind running our competition, and they are a huge support to the show, so thanks so much to them. So again, if you want to enter in the competition, subscribe to this podcast, leave a rating and a review, and if you would share this on your network, it will only help us get out great information. And the bigger we can make this podcast, the more ratings that we can get, the higher the rankings. I'll be able to get more guests on, like Verushka, more guests in terms of researchers to talk about the science, to ultimately educate people with free information, so we can help the bodybuilding community, hopefully, with a little bit of fun and banter mixed in. So, Verushka, I want you to now talk about, if you don't mind, speaking about this prep. So you spoke about last prep, how hard it was, some of the health issues that you incurred from just eating white fish and green beans every meal. How was this prep different?
I think in the beginning, this prep was really, really difficult to adjust to for me, because I wasn't used to having so much freedom or flexibility. So I would stick to the same foods like chicken, sweet potato, chicken, rice, broccoli, because I knew those were safe foods, if you wanted to put it like that. Eventually, I started experimenting a little bit by searching healthy recipes and then adapting them to what I could fit into my macros. And then it sort of became like a game or like a little puzzle piece. And I have quite a few issues with being OCD. So this kind of was like a little game for me every day, was to try and match my macros exactly on point, not going over, maybe one under, but then I wouldn't feel satisfied. So every day I would prepare my food for the next day mentally, and I got really excited about it. I got excited about cooking and using vegetable stock or tomato paste. I mean, I wasn't allowed tomato paste before. So all these little things really changed my world. And you gave me a great base when you gave me that list with all the foods and whether they're high fat or if they're high carb or, so I used that as a base because I had no knowledge of food before I started, this prep. I only did what I was told. And because of this and because of the flexible dieting, I now know what foods fuel my body. I now know which foods work well with my body, with my digestion, which foods bloat me, which foods make me uncomfortable, which foods I can use it when I crave something sweet that I don't have the macros to cover. So honestly, this prep has really not only changed my body, but it's changed my perspective and my total thinking about food. The way I view food, my relationship with food is so much healthier. And I look forward to planning dinners and to even going away to restaurants because I have my scale in my handbag and I just whip it out. And I'm like, listen, I want this and I'm going to weigh it right here. So no matter where I am, I'm very passionate about this lifestyle. And because I'm now more informed, I don't know everything. I mean, I will still email you if I need to ask you something, but I feel a lot more confident that the choices I'm making are the choices that are correct for me. So this prep by far has been easy until I obviously had to start cutting and getting a bit leaner for the show. But up until that point, it was a journey of self-discovery for me.
Yeah, and I know that I can remember emails from you saying, Steve, am I allowed whey protein? And my response was like, are you intolerant to dairy now? And you were like, no. And I'm like, well, where have you got this from? And you were saying to me, oh, but people have been messaging me saying I've got the Arnold's, that I've got to cut out whey protein. And I'm like, you've been having it all year and you've been fine.
Yeah,
like why
that's in dairy. There seems to be the stigma about having dairy because it sits in the fatty deposits under your skin and your skin's going to look dimply. And, so I got a lot of hate for that. A lot of people, when they saw me posting a photo of myself with what is actually a flat white with half milk, because I don't do a lot of dairy generally, but I'd have a cappuccino, if you want to call it. And they would inbox me and say, you've got Arnold's in a few weeks. How can you do this? You're going to throw away your chances. And they were so passionate and aggressive about dairy being bad that I almost thought, am I doing something wrong? And then, I messaged you and be like, Steve, can you clear this up for me? Because now I'm really confused. I've had no effects. And I remember you still asking me, is this scientific proof? And I said to you, well, everyone's saying it. So, and you just laughed at me.
I think you touched on a really great point right before, in the fact that when you said that you didn't have any knowledge of food and you didn't know what protein, carbs and fats were. And I think that somebody who saw your condition the way you were will have looked at you and thought, do you know what? I need to go to her for nutrition advice. And you admittedly didn't have a great deal of knowledge. So you would have just relayed on what you had been shown by your coach, and you said, yes, you've got to eat white fish. And I think that that's how there's so much of a broad feeling that you've got to eat certain foods and you've got to eat a certain way. And I think that just by the sheer lack of maybe knowledge, and just because somebody's in shape doesn't mean that they necessarily know a huge deal about nutrition, but you're going to go to that person for advice, and that's sort of how it spreads. I think that was a great point.
I agree with you there. Also, one of the questions, sorry, Steve, that I'm jumping the gun here a bit, but, when I've had hundreds of girls message me and say to me, I want to get into fitness. How do I start? Send me a diet. Send me a training program. And I almost have like a standard response. And the standard response is, invest in yourself as if you were going to study a degree. So yes, take some money, even if you have to make a loan for that, but go see a proper nutritionist or a coach or someone that's trusted in the industry, which is also quite far and few in between to find these days, because everyone that has an online little accreditation is now online coach. To find the right
one show now prep coach.
Exactly. So I would never give someone advice because I previously just did what I was told to do. And now my macros and my flexible lifestyle is worked out for my body. So I can't give advice. I mean, I can give you the basics, but the rest is for me. It's my body, my plan, so my advice is always that I'm more than willing to help, but rather go to the correct person and speak to them when they actually know what they're talking about. Otherwise, I'm relaying the incorrect information, and you are basing your whole prep on that.
And do you know what? That's incredible for an athlete such as yourself, who obviously you know a lot more than I think you probably give yourself credit for, and you've learned an entire, so much in the last year. And for you to then put your hand up and say, do you know what? I don't know. You need to go speak to a professional, rather than thinking, oh, could I give them a diet plan and make a quick bit of money? No, and that's why you've got such great integrity as well as an athlete. So yeah, that's brilliant. And we obviously thank you so much for everyone. You do, refer to us as well. Even if it's downloading our ebook on the website, it gives people a base level knowledge of proteins, fats, carbohydrates. But yeah, so let's delve into some of the questions. So a great one here was, this is from Ed. how did you deal with the hate you were receiving from being different for the rest of the crowd? Obviously, you spoke about flexible dieting, how, I think you were asking me things like, oh, can I eat ostrich? Can I eat this? And I don't think I ever said no to anything. So what was your response to those people? How did you deal with that both? Obviously, you came to me a lot of the time to confirm things, but then how did you deal with that in kind of other scenarios? And was there any other things about your prep or peak week that might have been different to, what everyone else was doing?
Well, I think when people don't understand something, they fear it. And if they fear it, then automatically it's wrong. Where for me, I find if I fear something, I'm more interested in finding out why I fear it and how it works. So my brain is maybe wired a little differently. But I had a lot of people that did give me a lot of negativity about flexible, dieting and the lifestyle. But I've always been different in some way. I'm not your average little Barbie cutout fitness girl, and I mean that in the nicest way. But I like to push boundaries. So I'm used to getting a lot of hate in other areas of my life as well, not just fitness. I'm covered in tattoos, and I shaved my hair a few weeks ago. These are all things that scare the shit out of people because they think this girl's batshit crazy. Add some muscle to that, then
they would
automatically, automatically, if you add some muscle to that, I'm either a lesbian crazy or a man. I can't tell you how many times I've been called sir. Don't even get me started on that. But when it comes to haters, I think if you try and explain it to them as best you can, let them make their own decision. If they still hate on you, fuck them. Go to the rack and do what you do.
Yes.
So how was peak week? You told us that your body was changing every day. So I want you to talk a little bit about the difference in peak week to what you did and what some of your competitors went through, and maybe how they felt on the day compared to how you did. So what did we do in peak week?
I mean, first off, I didn't have to do a lot of cardio during my prep, which was blissful. But the last few weeks, obviously, we had to incorporate some cardio, and it was really tough because I was bumped up the division to body fitness, and we had 4 weeks to really make some changes and bring me in as hard as we could. And we did an amazing job, clearly, with hard work and dedication. But I was quite shocked when you said to me I still needed to drink as much water as I needed to, and I was having salt, and I had a huge carb up, the day before the show. And then automatically you go back to being a little bit fearful because everyone's doing something different. But the minute I went to registration and I saw girls literally laying on the ground, look like shriveled old prunes, their faces were gaunt like fish lips, I realized, thank goodness my coach actually didn't make me do that, because I don't think I would have survived. I think mentally, before you even hit the stage, you're so drained, you can't be your best on stage when you feel that depleted.
Yeah.
And each to their own. I don't knock other people's ways. I'm just glad that isn't my way anymore, because I felt fresh. I went to the expo on the Friday, and I went to go and get free samples of stuff to give away to people. So I really, really enjoyed it. And on a Saturday, I woke up calm. I can't explain it. I woke up so calm. I had a nice bath. I went for my tan. And literally I stood there watching everyone around me looking like they weren't enjoying it. And I thought, this is such a big experience. I've worked 13 months for this. My whole heart, my passion, everything's gone into this. I want to enjoy it. And I was walking around like someone who was on hippie crack, because I was smiling so broadly. And I think it came across on stage that I was truly happy and comfortable in my skin. I didn't have to pretend or fake it to make it. It was honestly the best prep I think I've ever done, and hopefully the next one will be even easier, and the one after that. And because I'd like to do a show a year and bring a better package every year, so that people really go, wow, I can see the difference from 1 year to the next.
No, and that's amazing. And
yeah.
I can remember when I competed in Johannesburg in 2014. I did a show, and I was backstage, and basically everyone, I was completely hoodied up. And I went for like Kai Green style, keep everything hidden. And then I walked in with 6 1.5 litre bottles of water, and I put it down on the desk, right? And the whole room was filled with guys, and they're all like shirts off, pumping up, flexing. And anyway, they're all complaining that they were dehydrated. Oh yeah, my coach made me cut water yesterday at 9 a.m. That was the last drink I had. I've just been sipping. They're just like this, and then I'm there, cracking open 1.5 litres, guzzling it down. They're looking at me like, are you crazy? And they're
That's
like, what?
exactly the look I got.
And they're looking at you like, why are you drinking water? And then I'm there getting my Snickers bar out, eating my Snickers, getting a little bit of a pump on, and they're still looking at me like, what the hell? This guy must be out of condition. Take my shirt off, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the most conditioned here. Cheers. Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's the same with when I went to compete, wasn't it? Like, I remember being backstage with you and just drinking my water, and there was guys literally not drinking, but one guy was scrabbling around for a bottle opener because he wanted to sip on his wine to dry him out. And I'm just sat there just drinking loads of water, and he's going, I'm so thirsty. And it's just like, and like you said before, you want to go on stage and enjoy it. And I think that it's supposed to be a picture of health, and although that it's inherently a little bit unhealthy when you get to those sort of levels anyway, that when you actually look at those people on stage, they might look okay, but a lot of them are dying inside, pretty much.
In Verushka, you still had your menstrual cycle throughout your prep, didn't you?
Yep. My body's in tip-top shape. I mean, my skin is beautiful. I feel healthy, besides for a little head cold, from the difference in climates, being from Joburg to here. And obviously, I'm going to lie if I say it was a piece of cake, because then clearly I shouldn't be doing the sport if I find it easy. It was worth the hard work, and the results were visible. Flexible dieting works. You don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to be dying backstage and fake it on stage. I mean, I walked off that stage and I could have put on a party dress. Well, in fact, I did. I went to a dinner with all my mates and I felt 100% fine. Yeah. Everyone else at the table had been gorging the whole day, or they've been, trying to catch up and stuff. So,
what did you eat? What did you eat post show?
A steak. I just wanted a really juicy steak.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, right, between, I know last year when you competed, that wasn't your post meal, was it? After eating white fish every single meal, you do binge because your body wants everything. But without, depriving yourself this prep by having a little bit of this, a little bit of that as you needed it, obviously, you were able to leave prep, have a good meal with your friends like anyone else would. In that social situation, you took bodybuilding aside and you left that on the stage, and obviously you went out, enjoyed yourself, and been social, because spending time with family, friends and loved ones is more important than prep, and I know that was something that you were really passionate about. So you've kind of said I think you've covered that really nicely. So anyone who's looking to compete, what would your recommendations be and about starting out into competing?
Firstly, do it for the right reasons. It doesn't help you doing it to impress someone else, to be better than someone else. I think your mental game has to be really, really strong if you want to compete. Also, from an emotional space, if you're going through a breakup, sometimes that makes the best bodybuilders, because you're passionate. But at other times, I think if you're going to do this, you have to know it's going to be hard. You have to follow through. You have to have a good support system, have the correct coach, have the correct people guiding you. But also, don't shut people out. It's very easy to start shutting friends and family out, as you mentioned earlier. But try and maintain a normal sort of life. But maybe it's just me, but I pour everything into this, everything into my career, because I do work a full day. I don't have flexible hours. And I make everything fit somehow like a puzzle piece, because I want the end product badly enough.
Yeah, and I know, the last 4 weeks were tough in the way I had to drop your food. I was there like, I'm sorry, Verushka, you are going to hate me. And, I did have to put you on double sessions of training and cardio and God knows what else. And, on paper it looks pretty horrific, but it was for a few weeks. And I know that I could push you because you're an experienced athlete. There's some clients you just can't do that with, and you have got great dedication to the sport, and that's why also you're able to achieve such high levels. But ultimately the support, I think, was hopefully there from myself to be able to coach you through that last 4 weeks, even if you did hate me. And but when they drop a deadline on you and they say, well, we're going to bump you up a class and you've now got to lose, you've got to come in a lot harder and a lot leaner, then we had to up our game, and luckily I think we managed to do that. But this year we'll know what category you're in, we'll know that we need to start prep that little bit earlier, and make sure you're in a really good position. But so I don't know if we've got any other good questions, because I think we've covered most of these actually. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
I mean, I feel we've covered everything. I honestly am very passionate about our team. I mean, they've been great support to me, and that's one thing I'd like to thank everyone for. I mean, I don't know anyone besides you that I've met in person, but I really feel like we have a strong community and a strong forum or place where we can express our fears or our angers, and we're not going to be judged. You know, there's a lot of other platforms out there where if you post something, people will say, "Oh, but your spine's skew. Oh, but you've got one glute bigger." They're always picking on the negative. You know, we make fun in our group and we support each other, and not just within our own group, but we always spread positivity, and I think that's very important. And I hope we can keep that going, and I hope to be a good ambassador for Team Box, and I hope to hopefully win Arnold's next year. We've got a year to make that happen.
You know that, and thank you so much. Yeah, and you know, I'm sure you will. You know, you're only going to get better and better every year, and you know, you are going to be that competitor who comes back every year being better. So yeah, fantastic. Mike, any other questions for Verushka?
No. I just want to thank her for coming on the podcast. Obviously, it's the first time we've spoken. I can hear the passion. Just everything that you say, you're so passionate, and it's inspirational to me. So yeah, I'm thinking I need to up my game so I can go and beat Steve in our show.
Mate,
thanks so much for having me.
I'm winning the overalls, mate.
That's what I mean. I'm taking that.
You're not.
Verushka spurred me on.
We've already agreed that you've got to be okay coming second.
Okay, mate. We'll see. We'll see.
No, Verushka, thank you so much for coming on. So, Mike, a little prep. You've got 30 seconds. How's prep going this week?
Amazing. Lost 3.3 kilos in 1 week. So quite a big drop. So no changes. I don't think I've had any changes for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, just plodding along, and the weight's just coming off. I compared to last year, and I'm now at the same weight as what I was 10 weeks out last year. And I'm 12 and a half weeks out. So essentially I'm 2.5 weeks ahead. And I look a lot better at this weight than I did last year. So I've got more muscle mass and I'm a little bit leaner. So I'm going to come on stage a little bit bigger than the 83 I was last year. Maybe 84, maybe 85. So yeah, I've got maybe 9 kilos to lose in 12 weeks. So easy.
Unfortunately, me and you don't grow like Verushka.
No, unfortunately not. You know, I'll be lucky. You know, we're experienced trainers, and we'll be lucky to add, you know, you'll be lucky to add 20 grams. I'll be, you know, a kilo out of the 24 that I put on, you know, is a pretty poor return, but, you know, it's probably the best you can have for, really.
Yeah, so I'm 12 and a half weeks out as well. Yeah, prep's good. I've actually finally lost a little bit of weight. I'm down about 1 kilo. So as my weight has barely dropped anything over the last 8 weeks of prep, finally down a little bit, visibly leaner, starting to get some good striations on the quads now, even starting to see my glutes coming through. So with 12 weeks to go, I'm in a pretty good place. I'm going to watch the St. David's Flex Physique show this weekend coming.
Nice.
So I can see kind of the place where we will be on stage in 12 weeks time, and I might start a little video series if I feel like I've got the time, and you know, record my next 12 weeks of prep. So yeah, that'll be pretty exciting. Sorting out posing soon, aren't we? Getting our classes in to make sure we're looking dandy on stage.
Yeah.
That's about it. But yeah, going well, really.
My worst part, definitely, posing. I hate it.
Yeah, mate.
I hate it.
We'll get you there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and we had a great weekend at the Martin McDonald mentoringship weekend, didn't we?
Amazing! The definitely the best thing I've done since I've been coaching. I took so much away from it. It was all, you know, evidence based. We critiqued a lot of studies, and you know, that's exactly how we should be progressing as coaches. And yeah, fantastic. And obviously, we've all 5 of us have now enrolled on the university course that Martin's running, which is, you know, starting October, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, and Martin is going to be coming onto the podcast at some point over the next few weeks. So we'll be getting that recording in. He's got a lot of experience as a competitive bodybuilder himself. He's an extremely knowledgeable guy, one of the most knowledgeable guys that I've ever met, and he's just got a great mind for critical thinking, for applying performance-based practice for nutrition and training. So it'll be great to get his viewpoint on.
Not to mention that he's sarcastic as fuck and his humour's really, really dry, which is pretty much going to be in line with this podcast. And he's not scared to speak out.
No, and do you know what? The industry needs more of it. So yeah, I know me and you come away from that weekend, and all the Team Box coaches were like, yeah, we need to enroll on this course. It's going to help us hugely over the next year. So we're really excited about that, and maybe at some point we can put that out when Martin comes on. We can talk a little bit more about that course as well, in case people are interested in upskilling, learning more about nutrition and becoming a really good evidence-based practitioner. #Team Science.
Yep.
Whoop. Verushka, it'd be great to get you on that course, maybe just dropping that bomb in there. So then you would feel empowered about giving out the right advice and things. But anyway, guys, we'll leave it there. Again, huge thank you to our sponsors, MuscleFood. Getting into that competition, you'd be doing us a massive favour, and that competition is just to say thank you for everyone so far who's left those ratings, reviewed, subscribed. Please share this with your network where you can, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's the iTunes. We will try and get this on the Android platforms.
Stitcher.
I'll try and work out how to do that. Obviously, I'm not the greatest with technology. I'm all right, but I'm learning. So if anyone wants to help me with that, please personal message me, and I'll be loving that support.
And the show notes are available, as always, on team-box.co.uk, and you'll also get our free ebook when you sign up.
Yeah, and we will resume normal listener questions. Obviously, this week we were interviewing Verushka, so we just tackled those. I've had a few inbox me, so if you want your question read out on the podcast, is info@team-box.co.uk, and we can get to those questions. But guys, thank you so much. And Verushka, thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, and we'll probably get you on at another point, maybe throughout maybe your off season, to see have a little catch up on how's that going. Unless everyone hates you, and then you can just fuck off. But I'm sure they won't.
I'm thinking of replacing you with her. So.
Okay, yeah. Like that. She's got more gains.
Well, I just have to come to the UK, and we'll have to have a flex off.
Yeah. Right, on that note, we'll leave it there. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.